Hi, my name is Deserie Foley. I'm the Assistant Director of PAX International, and you're tuning into episode 8 of our Digital Minds Deciphered. I'm here with my co-host, Steven.
Hi, everybody. I'm Steven Dubuque. I live in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Like Deserie said, this is episode 8 of Digital Minds Deciphered. Just a little disclaimer. We don't necessarily endorse or agree with all of the views expressed in these interviews. A lot of times, like in this case, we're just hearing our guest story for the first time. Having said that, I'm really excited to hear from Reginald. He reached out to me, probably seen a few of our episodes, and he wanted to come on and tell his story. So yeah, I'm happy to have him. And Reginald, why don't you just start off with telling us a little bit about yourself, why you wanted to come on here, what it's like being a targeted individual, what that looks like for you.
Okay, my name is Reginald. Refrain from saying my last name at this point, but I have been targeted for a little over 4 years, just past my 4-year anniversary in March. So it started right during the pandemic. I am recently married. I'm a homeowner. I'm a business owner. Pretty successful, even through this sort of downturn. And I've been able to achieve most of those things in spite of the targeting. It's been very difficult. Some days are more difficult than others. Recently, it's been very difficult. Last night, for instance, they were using a weapon against me where, a lot of times they wait until I'm asleep or I'm in the, what is it called? The hypnagogic state. Am I pronouncing that correctly? Does anybody know? The state between sleep and wakefulness. Sleep and wakefulness, where I think that your brain waves are doing something where they believe that your mind is most fertile to accept suggestion. So they will give me artificial dreams and things like that. At the culmination of each dream, I'll wake up and I'll hear them, using psychic driving to drive these phrases into my head. But they've done that over and over again. The weapon that they've used against me last night is like a small boy jumping on your chest and sort of activates your diaphragm. And so you wake up directly out of sleep. And, if you've eaten anything, I had fluid shoot up my esophagus, coming out my nose. My eyes are watering. I'm choking. I'm coughing, trying to snort out and spit out liquid. And I'm hearing them repeat the phrase over and over again in my head. These are the consequences. These are the consequences. These are the consequences. These are the consequences. And so they try to terrorize me in the night. And they do this over and over again. I'll take, 4 50-milligram sleeping pills just so I can get back to sleep while I'm having to hear them every night. And I do a job where I drive dangerous chemicals across the country every night, and these people do not care. They don't care about public safety. They don't care about my safety. They just care about control. So yeah, psychic driving. Are you guys familiar with this term?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and so, to kind of touch base what you were talking about, I don't know if you saw the last episode 7, where he talks about suggestibility. Did you see it?
I did not watch the
You
very
definitely
last one, no.
have to watch it, because you're talking. He goes and talks a lot about TIs are like 95 to 100% suggestible, and that's one of the things that one of the reasons why they go after certain people is because we're highly suggestible. And they do like speak to like right before you fall asleep that that's when you start to hear, well, for me, when you start to hear voices, and that's when the programming starts, because that's when you're basically hypnotized.
Yeah, well, I hear them all day, every day, for 4 years. It's as if they operate in phases. So it's like they're trying to build upon whatever the last phase was supposed to accomplish for me. Um, so the phrases will change along with the phase. It's kind of hard to tell what exactly they're trying to do, because what phase I'm in depends on how I'm reacting to what they're doing. So for instance, if I combat them by repeating phrases myself, or I could repeat one word over and over again to frustrate them, liar, 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 in my head, they will stop physically hurting me, and a bunch of humans will come on, and they'll all start talking to me saying phrases. You don't have to get angry. Why are you getting so angry? You don't need to be angry. Or there are going to be consequences. There are going to be consequences. Just a bunch of phrases. Why do you think we're doing this? To get me out of doing what I'm doing. And it frustrates them because they think that they're supposed to move forward, like they're working off some sort of timeline. And the longer it goes, where I kind of wrench things back to not square one, because it's been 4 years, I don't even remember what that looks like. But if I pull things back to something that they thought they've accomplished weeks ago, then they get really frustrated and they start threatening. And sometimes they come up with new phrases, but it doesn't seem like they have much leeway to say a lot of different things. So my situation is straight up behavior modification.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard them, I was on a binge. I was crashing out of an engagement, and I started hearing them. I had hopped hotels 4 different times because I was thinking the maid spying on me. I can hear her talking about me. I'm hearing knocking. I'm hearing people in the hallway. I look outside. There's nothing there. I think that there are people coming to get me, or they know what I'm doing. And I'm thinking that switching hotels is going to remedy the situation. But every time I changed hotels, it would get progressively worse. Okay. Um, and so I'll tell this quick story. I'm in one hotel. It's a seating hotel. It's the kind of hotel you go in there and you could probably walk outside in the breezeway and find somebody to help you engage in extracurricular activities, let me just say. Okay. And so I'm there, and I remember trying to look at the Wi-Fi, and I'm seeing, FBI surveillance, right? So in my mind, I'm like, that's weird. And I'm in the room, and full disclosure, I'm trying to rub one out. Okay. And I hear a guy. I'm hearing these voices, but I'm thinking I'm just tripping. But as I'm doing what I'm doing, I hear the guy say, "Ooh, look, he tried to put a little twist on it." And I was like, what is going on, right? And so I'm freaked out now. I clean myself up, and I'm thinking to myself, I have got to get out of here. And what I'm thinking is, this hotel is so seedy that it's wired so heavily that somehow I'm hearing the surveillance that's going on in this hotel. Okay. And so my idea is, I'm going to make one more buy. I'm going to swallow it as fast as I can, flush the rest, and then I'm going to get the hell out of here. So as I'm doing that, they're making me think that they have got the girl that I'm going to purchase from in another room, talking her up to come and do this buy, like it's going to be a controlled buy. So they're trying to scare me from doing this. But as in the other situations, like when I was in the other hotel, I thought the maid was spying on me. As I left, I saw her, and she's just like, bye, and I'm thinking to myself, that doesn't look like the kind of reaction from a person who was just saying the things about me that I was hearing. Okay, it's the same thing. The girl comes to the door, and nothing on her face belies what I was hearing. And so I kind of blow it off. I eat it, flush the rest, and my car's in this sort of the parking lot's kind of enclosed. It's not the kind of place you want to leave your car. I didn't know how long it's going to be till I go back. So I'm thinking I got to get in my car. But that's the worst thing to me. I don't want to be in my car because then they have an excuse to pull you over or whatever. So I drive out of there. I park as fast as I can, hop out of my car, and now I'm calling for an Uber to take me to the next hotel. I get to the next hotel. I jump in the shower, and bam, full blown. I start hearing them voices, and they're like, "Okay, okay, okay, it's time to shut this down. This is the FBI." They say they're the FBI. They make me say it. They're like, "I want you to say the word Federal Bureau of Investigation," and they're telling me to like use the washcloth, like wash your junk, and I'm thinking like, what the hell does the FBI have to do anything with, masturbation or washing yourself or anything like this? And they're trying to tell me we can see everything you're doing, but in my head, I'm like, yeah, right. I'm in a new hotel. How would that be? But it took me some time to realize, like, yeah, they're not kidding. They know everything that you're doing. It took me a long time to realize that they could read my thoughts. I thought it was kind of a novel thing at first. I'm able to do things like think of a song and hear it playing in my head, like they have my brain hooked up to a massive database with all the media that you can think of. If I think of a movie, I start hearing that phrase play. So I kind of was playing with, this ability for a while, and they let me do that. And then eventually the wall started to close in. At first they came along and they're like, "We want you to stop engaging in extracurricular activities." Then it was, "We want you to stop drinking alcohol." And every time they would bring up something new, I would get pissed, hit the roof, thinking, that's not even illegal. Like, what are you talking about? And there would be times when they're telling me, "Don't drink alcohol. You're not allowed to drink alcohol, or there will be consequences." And I'm like, the fuck? Like, are you kidding me? Absolutely not. And I would go to the store, not even wanting to drink, grab a bottle of wine, drink 2 sips and pour it out and be like, "What do you think about that?" And but sure enough, I'll lay my ass down to go to sleep and they would terrorize me. I would wake up screaming. They've done things to me where it felt like someone takes a hook inside your brain and just yanks it real quick, and it wakes you up right away. I'm spitting mad. And my defense was, every time they do something like that to me, I'm going to get up and go right away and procure the items that they're telling me they most want me to avoid. So anytime they would do that, it didn't matter what I had going on. I would jump up and go see my dealer, and that was my defense, and it kind of worked. I think they really don't engage in that very often unless I'm away from home. If I'm working, I don't do stuff like that, so they feel safe doing it when I'm out on the road. But just terror, and then it just became thing upon thing upon thing upon thing. I've had them tell me, they'll use phrases like, "That's why you're hearing us." So if I get angry, if I raise my voice at someone, that's why you're hearing us. Sometimes if I fart too loud, if I look in the mirror at myself too long after I get out of the shower, if I look at women in the store, that's why you're hearing us. That's why. I'm like, and it's just it's smothering the kind of behaviors that they tell me they want me to curb. And so ultimately it just ends up, if I'm ever trying to do what they're asking in order to get some peace and quiet, eventually I just explode and go tear off and do all the worst things, or within reason. I mean, I would never hurt anyone. I think that's one of the reasons they've chosen me. I don't know if you guys have noticed, it doesn't seem like they're choosing many violent criminals, because I think that they know this drives people nuts, and they don't want to pick on somebody who they think is going to go straight out right away and shoot up a mall.
Well,
You
you heard
guys,
of
have you seen that?
Myron May, right? And Aaron Alexis, the Navy Yard shooters. Well, one of them was a Navy Yard
Uh,
shooter.
I've seen a couple instances. I've seen a guy, I wouldn't know their name. I think I do remember one Navy Yard. Was he a black guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
And I heard of
there
a
have been several people that have been driven to kill, you know, a lot of different people. And then there are like those stories where those people that are shooting up high schools and or malls and saying that the voices told them to do it.
absolutely. And I remember, I don't remember the name of the gentleman, but he just happened to be on a show I watched. It was a psychiatrist who would talk about true crime instances. And one of them came up and it was targeted individuals. And of course, the guy talks about us like we're crazy. And he's like, this gentleman thought that he was hearing voices. But then he said that he went to the police and he reported that they were insulting him because he got out of the bathtub and didn't put lotion on. And I said, hold on, that sounds like exactly the kind of thing that they do. And I'm like, this guy's legit. And the gentleman went from being a lawyer to committing suicide by cop, unfortunately.
Yeah, but Reginald, I don't think that takes away from what you said though, because I've heard a lot that the ultimate goal of targeting is to, is to create these mass shooters. I've said it myself. I think that's, but now as I'm hearing more and more stories, I think that's one of the goals. I think they have all sorts of goals with different people. So I think that they probably want some people to end up doing that. And then they probably want more long-term targets to, for further experimentation. Who knows, right? What their motive is.
Yeah,
But I just wanted
exactly.
to say how much I can relate to your story. It's crazy. Like
Right.
so many details. Even down to like what you were doing in the privacy of that. I've been there. I remember like
Yeah.
hearing a male voice like commenting on my size and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was
Wow.
just, and I was just like, what, are you enjoying this? And then I
Yeah.
remember hearing back, oh, sexuality is a very fluid thing these days for me. And I was just like, ew, man, like, ew.
Yeah.
This, and
Yeah.
like, still not, like, still coming to terms with the fact that everything I'm doing, like, there is no
Yes.
privacy. So
Yes.
such a gross
Well,
feeling.
at some point, I sort of reacted with, to feeling like they really try to curb my behavior by saying things like, there's all of these people here. There's so many people here. Aren't you embarrassed? There's so many people here. And I just said to myself at some point, I'm like, hey, I gotta live, you know?
Mhm.
And the opposite, I don't know if you've ever heard of the term reaction formation, but it's like instead of someone being embarrassed into like a corner or cowering through embarrassment, instead they react more strongly in the other direction. And that's kind of what I've taken. I don't even remember whether I used to be a kind gentleman, but now if I go into a truck stop or something, I will look at any woman, old, short, fat, ugly, and I'll look at her and I'll go, in my head. Of course, I would never do that in person, but just to irk them, I started doing petty things like stealing bags of Skittles. And I'm like, I don't think I used to do this before at all, but I would do it just because it's like these people think that they're going to sit on my mind illegally and force me to behave in a certain way. I started acting out all of the time. And it took me a long time before I got to the point where I wasn't acting out of anger and acting out of character, So that was a nice thing when I finally got back to a place where I wasn't littering, needlessly or ignoring things on the ground. Like if I drop something and pick it up, I'm going to pick up a couple things, just I used to be so angry that I just wouldn't do things like that anymore. I think that they don't pay any attention to what something like this does to someone's sense of civic pride. Um, the ideals that this country is supposed to be founded upon. I didn't realize how much I believed in that and how much I stood for that until this started happening.
Mhm.
And I came on because I believe I have a responsibility to stand up for, like Deserie said, the people who end up dying from this, the people who do lose their spouse, their job, their family. They do lose everything. Right now I'm lucky and blessed enough to be still, advancing in life. And a lot of people, I think, they haven't been able to do that. And so I'm standing up with my strength for them and telling the truth. And these people hate that, coming on this show, they were battering me psychologically. There's going to be consequences. There's going to be consequences. Just after last night, they know sleep deprivation is what I hate the most, because I got to get up and drive 11 hours. You know what I mean? And if I stop to take a nap, they won't let me nap. It doesn't take very long to get into a dream state if you're very tired,
Right.
and they can do stuff to you to wake you right up. Now, my dreams are interesting. The artificial dreams have been happening more frequently lately. It's almost every dream lately. Each dream will have like, back in the day, G.I. Joe used to have a moral to the story or something like that. Every dream, yeah, every dream there'll be a situation. It's situational things. They'll put me in a situation where I'm being offered sex, I'm being flirted with, and if I take it, back in the day, you had a wet dream. You used to want to tell all your friends, dreams. That's where you have all the sex, But now they want me to bring my conscious mind into my dream and understand that I'm married inside my dream. And I'm like, that's garbage. Whatever. It's a dream, lady. You know what I mean? So I just do what I want, and I'll wake up and they'll be like, that's not what we wanted. That's why you're hearing us. And I'm like, this is a dream that I just had. Or it'll be a dream where, they're giving me an option to shoot someone or to fight.
Oh my gosh,
someone.
I had that dream. What you're talking about. It's almost like a test. Like they put you scenarios in front of you, and it's a test to see what you could do. But continue, go ahead.
They're constantly testing me, and I don't know if it's to see if what they're doing is working or not. But what you get inferred is I have to start to pass all these tests if I ever want to regain my freedom anymore. And they used to say something to me like, don't you want to stop hearing us? And that could get me to do what they wanted. But after, you've done that and they've moved the goalpost 8-10 times, you stop doing that. But yeah, I have had a scenario where they put like a young boy in front of me who was scantily clad to see if I was going to molest him. That's how sick these people are. I woke up pissed. You know what I mean? I've had dreams where I had the choice of whether to steal something. And, if I take it, I'll wake up instantly and they'll start psychic driving. They'll start saying phrases to me. Or if I don't take it, I'll wake up and they'll start saying phrases to me. That's what we wanted, blah. And it's like, dude, I'm trying to sleep. I have a life to live. I have a business to run, and they just don't care. These people staff this thing 24 hours a day to screw with you and to experiment on you.
Do you ever notice, like in the dreams, I'm very curious because I have them too, like this, sometimes it glitches, like, and you can see it glitching in the mind. I mean, I've had it where I've seen like a person that will be coming in and phasing in and out of the dream, and then I will like tell them, I'll be like, you're glitching out, and then the whole dream will just turn white.
Really? No, I haven't had that happen. But I did I have a lot of dreams about drugs. So they'll put me in a situation where I could be walking out of a school and all of a sudden there's the trap house right there and I'm walking by it, and I have money and them being offered drugs. And I had a dream recently where, I follow a guy, he's got this nice place for me to sit down and do whatever I'm doing, and I can hear them in my dreams. They don't always speak to me, but so I buy the drugs and then they say, don't do that. And then I'm like, shit. And I'd like throw the drugs away. But then now I'm kind of conscious of the fact that this is a fake dream that they're doing. So I run out back into the street, drop my pants and start like wiggling around, and they're like, I can hear them going, "Oh my God." And then these dreams happen, and then they have these like cops come running after you. Like they have, it's very strange and very weird to describe. But yeah, anytime I'm doing something wrong in the dreams, like police will drop out of the sky and start chasing me, and then I'll obviously wake up, you know.
That's interesting what you said about like moral dilemmas.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been going through a lot of like the bad V2K or anything like that, but I'm definitely suspecting dream manipulation lately. And like the most notable one was about a month ago when I just had this violent dream where my 7-year-old son, like we were walking, and my son like walks away from me and he sees this like homeless guy and he just beats the shit out of him. And he's like, he keeps my son's a little kid. Like, I don't know. It's just seemed
Right.
like a very, very forced dream. And he like kept going and I had to like pull him off. Like, come on, he's had enough. He's had enough. He kills him. And then like the rest of the dream was like you said, like a moral dilemma. Like, what was I going to do? Was I going to protect my
Yeah.
son or turn him
Mhm.
into the cops? And I woke up with just like that did not seem like my own
Yeah.
dream. Like,
Yes. So none of these dreams have the hallmarks of a normal dream. A normal
Right.
dream is not linear. You know, there's not like you don't wake
true.
up going, that was a moral dilemma there, you know,
Plays
and
like a
that's what's
movie.
been happening. Yeah, it
That's
plays like
true.
a movie. Yeah. Yeah, that is not how I remember dreaming at all. My dreams, you know, are very difficult to make sense. You know, the seal says, why do we dream in metaphors? You know, and lately I wish that I could be able to do that. And I do wonder if it's taking something away. You know, it surprises me that they can meddle in your dreams like that, and I haven't lost my mind, because you just wonder, are you getting restful sleep, and how much can they do this to you before you start to experience health effects? Excuse me.
Exactly. And sorry, Steve, I know it's your turn to ask a question, but this is
Oh,
my
you guys
subject
take
is
time.
dreams. It's my favorite subject to talk about. So I have a question for you. Okay, so when you are dreaming and say you have to wake up in the morning or evening, I know
Mhm.
you're, a truck driver, but when you wake up and your alarm goes off, do you ever feel like you could connect to like the internet or some kind of internet where you can when you can scroll and do different things with the mind, and once you realize you're
Mhm.
doing it and you wake up completely, it goes away. Have you
Okay.
experienced that?
No, I have not had that, but there are times when, okay, so I'm when I first started hearing them, I decided I was going to show off my ability to meditate. Okay. And I was really focusing because I kind of wanted to impress these people. And it's like I can get my mind to a place where, you know, it's very expansive pretty quickly, and I can sort of feel energy moving, and I can move energy. And this is something that I think that they are kind of enamored with. And so they keep wanting me to develop this ability, but I don't want to do it for them. I think that it's a very personal, private, spiritual thing. And I'm like, nope, I'll just wait, you know, until, you know, I got 30 years to figure out how to do this until I die, I hope. Um, but so they spend a lot of time saying the phrase, we just want you to focus on yourself, which means they want me to kind of put myself into a psychologically calm state, um, and just be open to their suggestions and things like this. So, but if I'm doing that, they want me to do it inside the dream. And I've had things where they kind of plug me into something, I'll be spinning. And in order to kind of be able to maintain my sanity inside this spinning motion, what's happening, I really have to try to center myself and breathe. And and it's a trip. It's kind of one of the things that is, I don't want to say positive, but it's pretty trippy. And you know, when that happens, I'm like, okay, well, that part was cool, but you guys suck, and I just want to let you know that. And there are times when, and this is a trip, where I can play music with my thoughts. Okay, so if you can imagine that, um, and that is the most exciting thing that I have ever been able to do with my mind, that I believe is a result of what they're doing. Like, I believe they may have the technology that exists where you can do that. They can hook your mind up to, different instruments and things like that. Yeah, I think that they
Yeah,
can do
because
that.
you're basically describing what I'm talking about, but we're just having
Yeah,
different experiences because mine
right.
is more like I'm able to, it's not like the internet, like I can go to Google, but it's some type of internet where I'm able to
Mm-hmm.
pull up information and I can scroll with my mind. So I'm connected
Mm,
to some kind of something that I'm, and then once I
right.
realize I'm able to do it, then it goes away and I can't access it anymore. But I know what you mean about the songs too. Just the other day, I was blow drying my hair and there was a song playing and I heard it play the whole thing out. I was like, that's a good song. And then once
Yeah,
I turned the blow dryer off, I looked at my phone. It wasn't even playing any music.
right, right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I know what you're saying because it bounces off a sound.
yeah. I'll think of songs that would annoy them, like "Sexy Red Ski" over and over again, just to mess with them a lot of the time, or just I used to play songs that they would hate, just the most misogynistic music that I knew of, and I would just play it over and over again. And I have no way of knowing if they're actually hearing what I'm thinking of the way I'm hearing it, but they do react as if it's not something they want me doing. But they are really intense on me right now. They do try to trot this AI in to sort of monitor me. I can tell when they do that because things get really quiet instead of when I'm hearing humans, they're really chattery and they're constantly saying phrases. And they bring the AI in, it's there to monitor what I'm doing, and it will say, that's why you're hearing us. It's got very limited ability, it seems like. It
It's a lot
can't
more subtle.
respond.
Yeah, it's a lot
What's
more
that?
subtle. I
Right.
know the difference too between like when someone's actually talking to you, when
Yeah.
whether it's AI. For me, it was a different voice. It was like it sounded like a Google Assistant female
Yeah.
voice, and it
Yeah. My
wasn't as
thing
much
sounds
like
like
YouTube.
this, Reggie.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah,
very weird.
yeah.
Um, and
Um,
I don't allow it to happen, even though it's it's not as intense as when the humans are doing it to me. But I feel like, oh, they're trying to advance this, so I just start repeating phrases to shut it down because it'll immediately say he's not focusing on himself, and then the humans will come in and try to take over and calm me down, and you need to focus on yourself, and this and that. And I think they're trying to do it so they can save money, and they don't have to have human beings monitoring you all the time. And because it's holidays, it's night, it's at all times. But please continue what you're saying. Sorry about that.
Hey, I just wanted to mention a couple things. Remind me to email these videos to you later because I've seen a whole bunch of targeted individual testimonies just because I'm passionate about learning more about this. But one thing about your stories that I think you would enjoy is this guy named Chris Burton. He's got like 4 1 hour long interviews from, I don't know, maybe 2017. He did interviews with Romola D. But anyways, what you were talking about, I think you called them like phases or something. He
Hmm.
described them as like treatments where they would like be doing this one treatment. It might last for 2-3 weeks where it always had like a build up, and then like a horrible like crescendo where he got his hopes up and then they would reveal that it was all like a deception and lies, and then it would like crash down on him. And anyways, I think you would enjoy that. And I also um, I don't know about, I've never had the music thing. I've heard music through like an air conditioner before, and I've also heard it while in V2K while I was taking a shower. But I think what you're talking about is like thinking of a song and it playing in your mind, right? Um,
Yes.
I found one video of a guy who said he could do exactly that. He said it was kind of cool actually, and
Yeah.
he was also hesitant to like give them credit for it,
Yes. Yes.
but he said he would just start thinking of the first few words, and then the whole song would start playing. So I just want to let you know that you're not the first person I've heard who said that. Um,
Right.
my next question though is, I am curious about like people who are actively getting V2K right now. Like, were they aware
Horrible.
of you coming onto this podcast tonight? Like, did
Oh
they
yeah.
Did they
Yeah.
say any? What did they say to you about it? Like, I'm very curious about that.
Well, they can't just tear off and start speaking to you like a normal person. They're limited to certain phrases, for the most part, um, which I bag on them so hard for. I'm just like, you just read a script every day and do what these people tell you. Who can live like that? I just go off on them, and they just say, there's going to be consequences. There's going to be consequences. Why don't you just focus on yourself? And just these things over and over again. So they're threatening to, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a nightmarish night, but I'm just so glad to have been able to come on this show and tell my story. And I was just like, I can't wait, you Nazi creep. I'm going to blow you up. And, 68 people might see this interview, but, I still feel like I'll have done my service, and who knows what the catalyst is going to end up being for this. People are, I had them threaten to hurt me and physically hurt me the other day because I was reading about, what targeted people are doing over in Italy. I'd gotten an email, I'm reading it, and it's like they want to isolate you. They don't want you thinking of anything outside of what they're trying to get you to do. And they need you to go to be in that place in order to keep you brainwashed and moving in the direction they want you moving in. Let me try to slow down and see what it is that I haven't said. Um, so I'm in a situation where the walls are closing in more and more on me. They are focused on basically replacing my inner voice with their brainwashing. So when they say focus on yourself, they want me to calm myself down and stop using my inner voice to talk at all. So if I'm reading to myself, that interferes with what they're doing, because it'd be like us stepping on each other trying to talk in Zoom. Like only one person can really talk clearly at a time. So they don't like me reading to myself. Uh, these are standby. I've got the loudest headphones I could find, and I'm listening to them all the time, except for when I'm home, which is the worst. It's worse when I'm home. I have never had a private moment in my home. I'm a first time home buyer, bought my home at 42, and I've never had a private moment in my home. I have never had a private moment with my wife, not even since we met. Um, my wife is an angel. I think that when we met, you know, I didn't make any bones. I was kind of in a situation where I'm just like, I'm gonna date and I'm gonna be myself, and these women probably aren't long for me anyway, so I'm just gonna let it out there. And I remember getting like more upset about something that I should have, and feeling the need to kind of explain to her, like, and so I just blurted it out and was like, I'm hearing voices, the government, blah blah blah. Bless her heart, she stayed with me. And you know after over time, I asked her, I was like, do you think that I'm crazy? And she said, at first I was pretty skeptical, but she's like, the way you describe everything, that's not schizophrenia. She's like, schizophrenia is not these targeted messages meant to curb certain behaviors and things like that. And so now I've got to slow her down. She's on the internet searching, and she's finding more and more items about targeted individuals than I did even 4 years ago when I started. And that's a little bit encouraging that you're able to find more information on Google, not even DuckDuckGo, about stuff. So we just have to keep, retweeting and putting more information out there and hope that it breaks someday. And I really hope that they're desperate to try to achieve whatever it is that they can do in this period of time where it's the wild, wild west for them, because people still don't believe it exists. And so they're escaping responsibility and they're escaping regulation. So this is the time for them to just kind of go balls out and do everything they can and gather as much information before it becomes public knowledge, because then hopefully, steps will start being taken to protect ordinary citizens.
Oh yeah, for sure. And actually the vision I had when I started the podcast was that, we need to give these victims a platform. So if there
Mhm.
ever is, okay, the government's going to come forward and say, yes, we've been experimenting on
Yeah.
humans, and then we have our stories out there. So that was a
Right.
vision that I had. And that's when I met Steven. I was like, hey, Steven, would you be interested in maybe starting a podcast with me? Because I know like maybe one day in the future, this can be our testimonies, and say, and come forward and
Right.
say, hey, this is happening. We are the guinea pigs. We are the experiments. And then especially that the new stuff that's coming out with the Neuralink, and that they implanted the first human being to a computer. And
Yeah.
we know that ain't true. We are the first people that has happened to.
Right. 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 And we'll see people get so excited about some of these technologies. And then in your experience, you're like, yeah, they're not telling about the dark side of these things. And people are so excited about it, but people are out there suffering badly every day, worse than
Yeah.
anything that, in a way that, it is physical because they do, I feel in physical pain
Right.
every single day, and they're using it in order to curb me from even using my own inner thoughts. Like, how disgusting is that?
Mm-hmm.
If I think at them at all, they physically hurt me, you know. Um and they don't always do that. It's only if they can get me to a certain place, a certain phase where they've convinced me to try to keep calming myself so that I don't have to hear so many phrases. um, but then, they turn the screws, and then it becomes, okay, if you think at all, or if you think at us at all, then you're gonna, there are gonna be consequences, is the phrase they use. And that means physical pain or sleep disruption and wrenching me out of sleep. Um, they have done things to me. I think I heard you describe something where you feel like there's somebody that's gonna come get you. I mean, I remember they had me in a parking lot in Amarillo where it was the most intense their attack on me has ever been, where I felt like this must be what an Iraqi soldier felt like.
Right.
Enemy
Right.
combatant, like drives you insane, knees shaking, like turning around 360, thinking that there's somebody right behind you that's about to grab you, that's coming out of nowhere to get you. They had me cowering in my truck, blubbering. They had me to the point where I would have done anything they said. And they've only done that to me one time. And yeah, there is a certain drug that I will never touch again because of that, which is, no.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, word. Yeah. And that's one thing. But I think that their capabilities and what they can do to you is different depending on what you're on. It does different things to your brain waves, because you know, I think if they could get me to stop doing everything, they would terrorize me out of it. But I don't think that they have the ability to attack you the same way, depending on what you're doing. And oh, I also want to say that I used to believe that it was about curbing your behaviors. Don't do drugs and alcohol, okay? But what I noticed then was, um, it doesn't matter about the legality of the drug. Alcohol is legal. They still don't want you to take it because it makes it difficult to control. It's about control, not necessarily about the drug. Because if it's marijuana, they not encourage me to do that, but they say they don't mind it because I'm in this open-minded space where I'm not countering everything they're trying to do, and I'm just kind of sitting there listening to them and thinking to myself, oh, I'm gonna get you sons of guns tomorrow. But they think they're getting accomplished what they need to be doing, and that's when you realize, to have someone speaking into your mind and you can't stop them, that is going to have its effect on your subconscious mind. And that's why it's so detrimental and pervasive and insidious, because you realize these suggestions are getting lodged in there, and you have to actively do work to try to unwind them. And they really are warping your perception as they do these things. So,
Yeah, I just want to say, first of all, I'm super happy to hear that you have a wife who believes you, and not only that, but like it sounds like she's like passionate and like looking into it and investigating it. That is great. That's a
Yeah.
huge blessing.
Well, it's a drag sometimes because she's so amazing, and I look at her and I think to myself, like it's like being behind a glass partition. I'm hearing these voices. I'm in the house. Sometimes I have earplugs on, headphones on, going, and I just want to enjoy dinner with my wife. And these people are just pounding me psychologically in my mind. And I just got to eat as fast as I can and go try to lay down. And it's just not fair. It's not fair that she hasn't gotten all of me. I really try to do things to show how much I love her. I'm able to buy her things, take her on trips, and cook dinner for her. But when it comes to engaging on an intimate level, oh, by the way, every single time that I'm intimate with my wife, these people whisper in my ears.
Ew.
How disgusting is that? We
Mhm.
just want you to focus on yourself. And it makes me so angry. There's just these people have no bottom. They never stop. They never give me one stitch of privacy. Um, they attack me if I'm ever on the phone with my wife. If I'm ever distracted doing something else, they feel like that's prime time for them to physically hurt me. And I do want to say they're trying to condition me like Pavlov's dog, if you guys know who that is. They're trying to condition me like an animal to accept physical pain without responding with anger and without talking directly at them. If they can do this, then they can just nudge your behavior. And I tell them, no, I'm not going to do that because that would be like handing you the tools to control me. So I have to stand up against threats every day. I have to stand up against physical torture every day. And I have to fear going to sleep, which if you're tired, you don't fear going to sleep. But if you're, a person who ever engages in extracurricular activities, sometimes you just be like, well, fine, then I just won't go to sleep.
Mhm.
So you enjoy that. But that's not what I want to be doing. I want to be, you know, if it weren't for these people, they say that they want you to curb all these behaviors, but all the blessings that I've been showered with since these people came along would have been enough for me to stop certain behaviors on their own. These people are exacerbating the life, the difficulty in the life that I live, and they're making it more difficult to stop, not less. So it's just BS.
Yeah, can you touch more about that? Because I know you had sent us over an email asking us about how we felt like this changing your life in a positive way. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Yeah, I was afraid Steven was pissed at me. I was like, oh man, I think I didn't
No,
mean to.
no,
But
no.
but so
No, he
so
can
here's
never be
the
pissed
thing.
at anybody.
Yeah, okay. So here's what I did notice. Um trauma based, what do they call it? Behavior manipulation or augmentation. So because of the fact that they will do the voices over and over, one on top of the other, over and over, and it drives you crazy. It puts you to this place where you're redlining, you know.
Mhm.
And then, like I noticed, they would do it in cycles. They would have me redlining, and then they would calm. They would be quiet, and then they would start it again, like every 20 minutes sometimes. And in hindsight, it made me realize that I used to be my thoughts used to spin out to the point like almost I thought I was maybe bipolar, and my thoughts would be going so fast that I would end up flying off the handle and angry about everything, and it made my last relationship very difficult. And I started to realize, man, like something's wrong with me. You know what I mean? And then these people started doing what they're doing, and um when things are calm, I am better able to handle stressful situations. But not like sometimes I'm having a disagreement with my wife and they chime in and they're like, that's why you're hearing us. And then I'm like, freaking out because I'm like, you're just making it worse. You have no place commenting on this situation with my wife and I, So then my wife has experienced me getting more angry, and she doesn't know whether that's me or if it's from them or what. But I mean, ultimately, I have had to endure so much stress through this situation that, like, in a normal baseline, I am a calmer person. And that is one thing I can say. And I can hear them going, that's what we're doing. They want to take credit for everything good that's ever happened in my life, I swear. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it starting again. The fight resumes as soon as I'm off this call. I'll have to start hearing things. Did they say anything to me? No, they kept plugging along. They kept plugging along and doing what they do. And they were really intense, maybe more intense than usual. I think that when they get me to a place where they think they're leading me down the path they want me to go, and then I jerk things back, like I said, I try to keep myself calm. But then when they start introducing physical pain, and they keep saying, you don't have to get angry. Whatever you do, don't get angry. Don't get angry. That's the point. You're not supposed to get angry. And I'm thinking, the hell I'm not. Are you kidding? And um, so yeah, I think they just get upset because then I just wrench it back to a place where I'm just repeating phrases at them over and over again. And it puts them in a situation where instead of being 4 phases beyond, they have to go back to trying to retrain me to just stop repeating phrases to counteract everything they're saying. And they get frustrated. We've basically been doing that for almost 2 years. As soon as they started introducing physical pain and they would say the phrase, that's just the consequences. That's just the consequences of your actions. There are going to be consequences. Obviously, there are going to be consequences. And this just blew my mind that these people were trying to forcefully change my beliefs about physically assaulting someone and trying to make it okay for someone who has no lawful authority and cannot even reveal their identity, okay for them to physically hurt you for thoughts that you're having.
Crazy.
Yeah, maybe they'll lose interest and I hopefully I can come back on sometime and talk about how it's much easier than this has been.
Have you ever thought about buying bone conduction headphones?
Man, I tried that early on. I tried it early on, and does it work for you?
Well, I don't get V2K during the day, only at night. And
Wow.
I don't know why that is, but it's only when I'm trying to fall asleep, that's when I'll be able to hear them. But during the day, I don't hear anything. So that's why I never bought them. But yeah, it just happens at nighttime. I'm trying to fall asleep and then I'll hear them, Deserie. That
Oh my God.
that's how it starts, and I'm like, what? And then I like respond to them with my mind saying, what do you want? Or, it always
Yeah.
starts like that, something like that. But yeah, like I thank you for coming on. Like I've learned a lot. And that's another thing that me and Steven, I hope I can speak for Steven too, but we're still like learning and trying to understand these
Mhm.
programs. So when we have people like yourself, which we get to learn and get to see through your eyes, not literally, but on what you're going through. But I know
Yeah,
for
not like them.
no, not like them, but just to
Not like them,
understand
you
what
think?
we're going through. And we just appreciate it, and we get to like
Yeah.
learn and understand what you're going through. But did you have any other questions, Stephen, before we end?
No, I just want to say, Reginald, it was great to hear your story. I can relate to a lot of it. I hope it gets better for you. It seems like you have. I hope we do get to chat with you some more because you have a lot of
Yes, a lot of
insightful
insight.
things to say about this, and it was great to talk to you and hear your story.
Yes, thank you very much. I do appreciate. As soon as I saw your link, I went and watched some of the interviews. Some of them I really liked. Some of them I didn't so much like. When you hear other targeted people speak, you're just hoping that they sound salient and that they don't just sound insane. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And because you feel sometimes like, oh my God, like we're never gonna get traction. But yeah, you did have a guest on who I was like, that happens to me, that happens to me.
Mhm.
And so just hearing you guys talk about that really made me feel less isolated. And I've been excited. I was bummed out when you guys were like, oh, you gotta go next week. I was like, oh, it was like, oh, I've got to traipse through the desert for another week. So I was really excited to be able to come on.
Awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I really enjoyed getting to know you, and I hope that we can stay in touch. Are you on Facebook?
Yeah. Yep, I'm on Facebook, and you are distractingly attractive, Desiree. I don't know. I'm glad you're wearing a shirt that covers everything up today, but yeah, most of the time I see TIs and I'm like, man, we are busted out here. I don't know, but yeah, I was like, yeah, okay, here's someone that's successful. I really want to figure out if there's, something that she's doing, but man, it sounds like I'm getting it intense, and I'm just glad that I've been able to be strong enough. And Stephen, I know you mentioned God, like man, I am just sometimes I think that I still have the blessings that I have because God knows what we're going through. And I wouldn't be able to do anything without my wife. And yeah, just very thankful for the things that I have. But sometimes, when they're on top of you, it's hard to even see what's right in front of you.
Right. Well, we appreciate everything you coming forward, and I would love to have you back again in the future, and I hope that we can stay in touch.
Yep. And I am on Facebook. Please reach out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna send you an email when we're done. That way we can exchange like information. So, okay,
Great.
and for our viewers, please subscribe to our channel, and then hopefully we'll have something for you next week. And if you would like for us to interview, please contact Steven. He's gonna leave his information in the comments.
Thank you.
All
Okay,
right,
so
guys, have a
bye.
good night.
Okay, bye
Bye
bye.
bye.